I know that this is recorded here, October the 8th, 2023, but pray for Israel, please. All the things that have happened here. When Biden paid $5 billion to release those hostages, all it did was fund terrorist attacks. And here we go now with more hostages and everything going on in the world. We're talking about this area right now in 6 and 3, the Gospel according to Mark 6 and 3. Now, Jesus is in Nazareth. He stands up in the synagogue there where he had been going all of his life. He was now the head of his family, so he would read. It came to his turn to read, so he got up and read. And this time when he reads, he said, he read the prophecies, and he said, this day it's fulfilled in your ears. And the people there couldn't believe or didn't want to believe what he was saying. A lot of times people don't want to believe. Now let's read this here. Jesus was probably a stonemason. He was not a carpenter. I know that's contrary to what a lot of people say, but he never used a carpenter's term. He used stonemason terms all the time. And his father was probably a stonemason. That's why he went down to Egypt, because they needed a lot of stonemasons in Egypt to carve stones and whatever. Now, he's going to talk about this here. So I wanted to tell you that beforehand. Uk, hutos, estin, ho, tecton, ho huios tu, Marias, kai, adelphos, Jacobu, kai, Jose, or Hoetos, kai, Uda, kai, Simonas, kai, uk, estin, or esin, he, adelphe, auto, Hode, Pros, Himas, Kai, Eskan, the Lizonta, and Auto. Now here we have something that is contrary to the doctrine of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church says Mary only had one child. It was immaculate conception, that she never died, that she was taken into heaven, and all this. It's all fairy tales. Not one bit of it is true. But Mary was a woman. Mary, God picked out to be the seed that would bring forth the seed of the woman. She needed to be saved. She harbored sin in her life, so to speak. She was a sinner saved by grace, so to speak. She was not taken up into heaven afterwards. She did not live a sinless life afterwards. She had other children. Having children is not a sin. That's something God created. She had all of these children that we're going to talk about right here. These are not some other wife of Joseph. This is Mary. As far as we know, Joseph did not have any other wives. He could have, but he didn't. We have no history of it at all. It says here, uk. Now this is the word uks there. It's an adverb of negation. So it says notly. Actually, an adverb is something that has a ly ending on it. And an ly ending on something gives something action. It means it's an active thing. So how we would translate this is not, but notly. Now in English that doesn't look good, but it's an active not. Not this one, this nominative singular masculine demonstrative pronoun, not this one. He is the stonemason. That's what it says, stonemason. He is the stonemason. He is the stonemason. The son of a stonemason. And the son of Mary. He is the stonemason, the son of a stonemason, and the son of Mary. Ho huios tes Marias. The word there, ho huios, is not just son, but it means the heir. The heir. Now, in the book of Enoch, it never talks about the Son of God. It talks about the Son of Woman. The Son of Woman. Now, Luke, when he wrote his gospel, Luke was a physician, he was a doctor, he was a physicist, more than that. He was like a scientist of the day, and a physician also. But he talked about Jesus as a Son of Man. When the word there, Son of Man, it means Son of Mankind. The Son of Woman is a Son of Mankind. Through the woman, Jesus was related to the earth, he was related to all the creation of God, he was related to all other mankind. But he did not have the sin nature because he did not have an earthly father. The blood that ran in Jesus' veins came from God. It was divine blood. Now, a child, the blood that a child has, it comes from the father, never from the mother. The blood of the mother does not go into the child. It's the blood of the father. When a child is conceived in the womb, he is a person at conception. And in that conception, the blood of the father goes into that embryo and it is fertilized and the embryo begins to grow, but it is a person at that moment of conception. The blood of the father, and the blood of the father is where we get our sin nature. Now Mary had children. One of her children didn't have a sin nature. The rest of them did. Because the rest of those children were Joseph's children, not God's children. They were half-brothers and sisters to Jesus. Kai hutos estin, ho tekton, ho huios, the heir. Ho huios means heir, not just a son, but heir. The heir of Mary, the firstborn child, is the heir. The heir belonging to Mary, Marias. And a brother, Adelphos. Now what does the word Adelphos mean? Sharon, I know what you mean. What's the word Adelphos mean? What?
Out of the same womb.
From the same womb. Whose womb? Mary's womb. The Adelphos, Adelphae. Women and boys and girls from the same womb. And Adelphos, a brother from the same womb. That's what it literally says. A brother from the same womb, James, Jacobu, James. So she had, probably they're naming these in order. Jesus was the heir, Hohuios, and now we have a brother from the same womb, Jacob, or James. Jacobu and James are the same word. So James or Jacob. And Jose or Joseph, or Joel. Josetos, there, that means Joseph, okay? He was named after Joseph. Or maybe after his uncle, because they had, sometimes brothers would have all the first name, but the middle name would change. Like all the Joaquin Mariettas. There were 5 Joaquin Mariettas, but all of them had different middle names. And Jose, or Joseph, and Judas. Now Judas, the name Judah means Judah. Judas means Judah. Judah, or Jude, or Judah. Jude, Judah, and Judas are all the same name. Joseph means the increased. James means to follow the heel. And Judas means praise Jehovah. And Simon or Simeon, one who hears. These are all biblical names, aren't they? And not, Kai, Uk, Hasten, third person, not they are. So now how many girls are there? Now that's third person plural. present indicative active. See, we can find a lot of things from Greek that you don't see in English. Not, they are the sisters of him. So how many sisters are there? There's 2 or more at least. So how many children did she have? She had quite a few children. A lot of times women died in childbirth, but God gave her the ability to have children without dying. Now, I know that your great-grandmother, or your grandmother, Marilyn, your grandfather's first wife died right after childbirth, didn't she? That happened so many times. That happened in your family, Larry, you probably know women like that, maybe know. In my family, there were quite a few of them. A lot of women died in childbirth or right after childbirth. They didn't have very good, what we call, clean facilities.
They had blood poisoning.
Yeah, they had blood poisoning, different things. And not Simeon, and not, they are the sisters of him here. Ude, there's a little adverb of place there. Toward us. Now this is right up in our face, see. The girls are there in the synagogue meeting. Now the girls sit on one side and the boys sit on the other. So they sat over there. Now aren't all these boys, they said James and Joseph and Judah and Simeon, those boys there. Look, how many we got? We got 1, 2, 3, 4 boys. So she had at least 5 children, 5 boy children. And she had at least 2, minimum of 2, which means 7 children that she had, and maybe 8 or 9. That's a lot of children. But children were a blessing of God. Now people don't want to have children. They don't want to have children. They want to, their lives are selfish. They don't want to have, they want to just concentrate on their own stuff in their lives. And the sisters of him here toward us, they were right there present now. They're toward us. And they kept on being offended in him. The word eskandalizanto, third person plural, imperfect indicative passive. Because Jesus stood up and said this day, these scriptures are fulfilled in your hearing, they were offended. The word scandalized comes right out of this word. They thought this was a scandal. Verse number 4 now. Kai, Elegane, Altois, Ho, Jesus, Hote, Uk, Eston, Prophetes, Etimos, Emeentes, Patrida. Alto, Kai, Entois, Sige, Usen, Alto, Kai, Ante, Oika, Alto. And he kept on saying, that word third person, a singular imperfect indicative active. Jesus said this over and over and over and over. And he kept on saying to them, the Jesus, he's the subject here, ho Jesus, ho there is the nominative singular masculine definite article. And that means this is the subject, he's the subject. He kept on saying to Jesus, because not he is a prophet. Not he is a prophet. Prophetes. What does the word prophet mean? Prophetes. Prophesia. What does the word prophet mean? It comes from pro and theami. Prophet means to say something before it's going to happen. Now, we have a lot of prophets. Even around here, we hear all these modern day prophets. And they say things and people, they go out and they'll prepare for the end of the world, they'll prepare for this, they'll prepare for that, and it never happens. A prophet is supposed to say something before it happens, but the Bible says if somebody gets up and says he's a prophet, if it doesn't happen, take him out and stone him to death. That's the end to him. You got rid of that one. That was a false prophet. Now there's false prophets all over the internet, all prophesying. Now Jesus was a prophet. He was a prophet, he was a priest, and he is our king. And he is our Messiah, HaMashiach. Not he is a prophet, Timos. Timos, it comes from an alpha negative on the front, and Timos, what means, the word Timothy comes from that word. The word Timothy means honorable. Honorable. Not he is honored. Not he is honored, except and te patrida. A prophet is not honored in his own house or fatherland. His own fatherland, his own hometown, belonging to him. And in the Sigene Neusen. Now look at this. That word means relationships, relatives. It means all of those born at the same time. Marilyn, I went to your 50th high school reunion. And all of those people there, they were all born in that same generation, weren't they? That's what it means. Larry, you have a high school reunion, I'm sure. You have high school friends and things that you grew up with. Maybe even children you grew up with from diapers onward. I had one, Sharon, I know you've got one friend, that Susan, that you've had with your friend since I think you were 11 or 12 years old. But this is going all the way back to a period of time when Jesus was born. There was a lot of other children born in this very time. This is what we call contemporaries. And his own relatives and his own contemporaries. Now, you have brothers, you have sisters, you have cousins. You have a cousin you talk to almost every day, don't you? Yeah. Larry? You people lived during the same generation. His generation. The generation of him, and in the house of him. Now, did Jesus' brothers and sisters believe that he was Messiah? They knew something was different. They knew something was different. But many of the boys did not believe until after his death, burial, and resurrection. Now, we have two of his brothers that wrote books in the Bible. Did you know that? James and Judah. James, the book of James, and Judah, the book of Jude, or Judah. But they didn't believe until afterward. But they became believers. And we have their messages there in the book of Jude, and we have the book of James. And you know what James calls Jesus? He calls him El Shaddai, the Almighty God. He calls him the warrior God. Because he was. He's Jehovah. Verse number 5 now. Kai uk idunate eke poese udamia. Dinamin me olikois aros tos epithes tas keras ethera husan. And not he was able. Kai uk idenente. And notly, actively not. He was kept on being able, here what it says. He kept on being able, third person singular, perfect, indicative, passive. There. Why wasn't he able to do? Because people didn't want to believe. People did not want to believe. If eke means there, in that place, a little adverb of place. To do, poiese, First aorist infinitive active. To do. That's an infinitive. That means continuously to do for a period of time. And that aorist, first aorist, it means right there at that place he couldn't do. He was not able to do. Now we have the word udemion. That means not, moreover, not one, or not, very few, powerful, dynamin, powerful works, except, that word's except, since, not, a few, only a few, sick, are, aros, tois, sick ones. That comes from arostos. That means people that are not strong, people that are not well, people that are sickly. He was able to heal a few sickly people there because the people did not believe. They wouldn't come to him. Hey, you might be a great doctor, but if nobody comes to you, how are you going to fix them? Nobody showed up. Only a few. The next time Jesus comes back in this area, he's going to come back with a sword in his mouth, it says, on a white horse. And they will believe. But many of these people, it's going to be too late for them because there's going to be 2 out of every 3 Jews killed in that period of time here called the Great Tribulation. He's coming back here on a white horse. The white horse is a steed of a king. Verse number 6 now. Kai, ethamasen, diatain, apistion, alton, kai, peregme, tas, komos, kuklo, didaskon. And he marveled, he was astonished. Third person singular, first aorist, indicative active, because of the unbelief. Because of the unbelief. Jesus' fame reached this place before he got up and read that day, didn't it? Got up and read. I remember when Eddie, he's a pastor of the mission down here, he helped me in court a lot with my daughter when she was being abused so much. He came up there and testified in court. He also came to church down at Valley Baptist Church. And when I was here teaching in the church, I never carried my credentials. As a matter of fact, I have done very little of that in my life. Most people don't even know that I'm a double doctorate and all of that. Because I never pushed that. I just did what I did. I taught. And if they get something out of it, they get something out of it. If they won't believe it, they believe it, whatever. Anyway, he went down there with me, and I was teaching Greek there at Valley Baptist Church at that time. On the door, it says, Dr. Jim Phillips. Greek class. Greek reading and research. He says, you didn't tell me that. I said, well, what do you think? What do you think now? Did it prove it? Whatever. Did you prove it? Jesus proved to these people as he walked, wherever he walked, that this was divine power walking on 2 legs. Some of them didn't want to believe. Did any of the Pharisees believe? We only know 2 of them did. That the priests believed? How many of the priests believed? We had one synagogue ruler that believed. We had a few Roman soldiers believed. We have these fishermen around the Sea of Galilee believing. He said that he was marveled, he was astonished at the unbelief belonging to them, the unbelief of pistion. The word pistis, pistio. Now, you know what a piston is, don't you, Larry? I always think about when I see piston, the word piston for faith, I think about faith, about a piston in the engine because I'm a mechanic. And a piston in the engine, if it's real loose, it's not going to run, huh? That piston has to cling to the walls of that cylinder tight enough to have compression. So you can fire gasoline or diesel or whatever, especially diesel. There's got to be a lot of compression there to pop that diesel. Piston. The word piston means to cling to. And they did not cling to him, they clinged away from him. The unbelief of them. And he kept on going around about, third person singular, imperfect, indicative, active, the villages, the communes. He kept on going around the villages. Now, around the Sea of Galilee, Sharon, you've been to the Sea of Galilee. The Sea of Galilee is a big lake, a large lake, and there's 10 villages all the way around that. And he's going to tell us this here. He said the villages of the communes, accusedly plural feminine villages, in a circle. Kuklo. What does Galilee mean?
Circle.
Circle. So he's going in Galilee now. And the Jews, they said this about him. Also, they said, is there a prophet ever came out of Nazareth? That area, out of Galilee. What great prophet in the Old Testament came out of Galilee? Jonah. Every word, every time Jonah preached, everybody believed. When Jesus preached, now Jesus is greater than Jonah, isn't he?
Yeah.
When Jonah preached, everybody believed, and all of these people were unbelievers. They were pagans. They were heathens. They were kafars, as the Arabs call them, unbelievers, infidels. They were all infidels, but every infidel believed. When Jesus preached, many believed and many wanted to kill him. They either believed or hated him. They either loved him or hated him. Now, when God told Jonah to go to Nineveh, Nineveh was from Galilee, it was like that way up, okay? He went that way, the opposite direction. He went to Spain. He got a boat and went to Spain. That's Spain, you have to go through the Sea of Galilee, or through the Mediterranean Sea, and he was going on out there, and someplace out in the middle of that ocean, the Mediterranean Sea, the great storm happened out there, and there was a bunch of pagans on this ship, and they said, what in the world? The gods are against us, because remember that the god of the ocean was called a Leviathan. And the Leviathans of the deep, they thought caused all these storms. And so they said, some Leviathan is stirring up this storm, and who's God after? God's going to get somebody here. He's after somebody. Well, they figured it out. It was Jonah. Jonah was laying down there in the lower deck of the boat asleep. He was very satisfied that he's going to die, but he's getting everybody else in trouble while he's doing his dying, you know. And so they asked him, who are you? What kind of an outlaw are you? Are you a bank robber? Are you a murderer? What are you? You know, did you kill your mom and dad? There's something really bad, because God's after you. He said, I'm a prophet of God, and it's my fault all this is happening. These are pagans. Pagans. And then he said, well, what you got to do is throw me in the ocean. They said, oh no, if you're a prophet of God and we throw in the ocean, God's going to for sure kill us. He said, just do what I tell you. So they threw him in the ocean, and the Leviathan swallowed him. Whatever the Leviathan was, this dog in Hebrew, it was like a sea monster type thing. They call him swallowed by the whale, but it was a Leviathan. It was a great fish, great Leviathan. Dog means fins. Whatever this thing was, Leviathans all have fins. If you look at the Chinese festivals and everything, they have this dragon. That dragon is a Leviathan. It's got fins on it. Well, they threw him in there, and the Leviathan swallowed him, and he died in the Leviathan's belly. And and then he started speaking to God from Sheol. You know what those people did? These pagans? They made a sacrifice to Jehovah and asked Jehovah to save them and forgive them. Everybody on the boat. These are all pagans, but now they believed. His message worked. The power of God, the finger of God touched every heart that he preached to. Then he went to Nineveh. And somehow this fish, this dog, this Leviathan transported him either through the air or he swam all the way around. You have to realize now I got a globe right here. He's over here in the Mediterranean Sea like this, right here. Now, if this fish, Leviathan, swims, it's got to swim all the way around here, go around the Horn of Africa, swim all the way up into the Arabian Sea, the Indian Ocean, and all the way back up in here in the Persian Gulf. From there to there, he's got to swim thousands of miles. Or else God sends him by air, whatever. But he did it. 3 days. Not only that, but he got there in 3 days. Either swimming or flying in 3 days. Then when he got there, he goes to this fish, dog, Leviathan spits him out on the shore, and he comes out of there, and God raises him from the dead. And he starts preaching again, and every word that comes out of his mouth, the people believe. There was no greater prophet in the Old Testament than Jonah. It worked. His words worked. His prophecies worked. But one greater than Jonah is here. One greater than Jonah is here. Our Father, we send this message out for your honor and glory. Please touch lives with it, wherever it goes. Please save souls and put your people in your army from now on. And we pray, Father, that you use your word wherever it goes, always, to do its job. Touch lives, your students, your disciples. Please forgive me where I failed you. In Jesus' name.